most people think of Utah, they don't think about a great nightlife or party town. No, Utah is something like a place people think of when they want to reform, conform, buckle down, prepare to build a nest egg and a legacy. Raise a grundle of kids, become a soccer mom or a suburban dad who grills on the weekends and tells silly jokes. But that's all changing now. Utah is now internationally recognized for our incredible outdoor recreation, its amazing slopes, and its pristine outdoors, just a stone's throw away from our central downtown area. And with this recognition has come a new demographic of people. Native Utahns like to call them party people. People who like to drink, socialize, walk around, and fornicate. With the arrival of these party people, liquor laws have been changing. Now people in Utah can actually buy a drink without buying a membership to a club. Now visitors and locals can buy hard alcohol cocktails and drink them in the sight of minors. Yes, people, Zion curtains are falling, alcohol limits are rising, Satan has arrived at our doorstep. But Utah's liquor laws are still wacky. Utahns like to pretend that everything is now normal here, but it isn't. But it's approaching some kind of normalcy, such to the point that some distilleries and breweries that are taking their recipes and their products very seriously have adopted and have built successful businesses here. Sugarhouse Distillery is just one of these successful businesses. So how does a business navigate Utah's wacky liquor laws and thrive in the Beehive State, where it seems that the LDS Church owns everything, runs everything, and controls everything? Let's hear how James Fowler, owner of Sugarhouse Distillery, makes it happen.
To see what you guys have to go through to get shelf space in the liquor stores, it's absolutely incredible. And you described to me the changes in the system that happened, I think, what, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Can you tell listeners about that?
Yeah, so the state, or the DABC, purchased a new computer system, and that's really when things changed. They ran the system for probably about 6 months to a year, just kind of on a test. I think they did the Sandy store, Cottonwood store. They did a couple of the stores and just tried it out, and then implemented it over all the stores. And it's supposed to be an intelligent system that if something's being ordered more at a location, it would pick up on it and it would start stocking more of that product.
And it's like it's like the same system Walmart essentially uses.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all based on demand.
Yes, it is.
So if Smirnoff or Popov vodka is the #1 best-selling liquor in that particular store, they're going to just provide more and more of that Popov vodka.
Yeah. And that's where the problem starts coming in, because really what that system wants to do is just start filling up the shelves with that product. And so what the DABC did is they got a department that kind of people that go into this AI system and start changing things and saying, hey, well, we can't have all Barton's vodka bottom shelf because that's what's selling, because it's $9.99 or $7.99, and so we need to kind of change things around. And it's been a really frustrating system.
So it's like a hybrid approach between an AI system and the store employees who are probably really frustrated with it, saying, oh, but people love Sugarhouse vodka and people love Sugarhouse whiskey, so why don't we give them? So it's this back and forth between the higher ups and the store workers. Is that kind of how it's going?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think at the time, and I'm not in stores as much as what I used to be, but at the time the store managers had a lot of say. So if they wanted to bring in Sugarhouse, they could say, hey, we feel like it's going to sell great. They would give a little bit of explanation to somebody in the office, and they would ship it in and try it out, and they could do that. With the new system, it is cut and dry. It's got to be system generated, or there are those people but it's pretty sheltered of,
Well, I mean, this is what I don't get about it. If you're a mom and pop liquor store in another state, you're aware of your customers' desires, you know what your customers like, and then you try to provide that for them.
Yeah.
So what was the flaw in that system where the store managers were in charge of their own inventory? Why did they? What solution? Why did they solve a problem that didn't exist?
Well, and I think that the problem at the time, they felt like that they had too many SKUs set up in the system, and there was too much on the shelves, and I really don't think that was the case. I mean, you look now and you go into a lot of the liquor stores, and a lot of the shelves there's a lot of shelf space. I mean, there is a lot of shelf space. And so that's what's, really frustrating to us is you see the space that it's like we could be right up there. There's no reason that we couldn't. Mm-hmm. But really diving into that reason comes back to the commerce law. And the state has just stuck with saying that they are breaking the commerce law and that they will get sued if they give us any special attention. And really, as a distillery owner, many of us have sat down with attorneys and talked to them, and it's came out with every attorney that the commerce law is exactly there to protect them from that exact statement that they're saying, and that they have the right to sell to whoever they want and to kind of favor whoever they want, and that's the whole.
So it's a pretense.
Yeah, and so
it's as a reason to say that.
It's a pure excuse, and that's what's been really, really hard with it. And
move your mic down just a little bit so you can see your face.
We've gotten some really good traction over the time, and then it just roadblocks right back out.
So do you find that you're going out trying to meet the individual liquor store managers to have a relationship with them so that you can get your product placed better?
We did. I mean, I spent probably 2 or 3 years just going out and getting to know the liquor stores, and that's exactly it. I started finding out, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about a relationship or helping the employees, or it is 100% on how the system is generating and what your sales are. So they want to see bottle turns, and that's really that's probably what I have the hardest problem with. Is a bottle turn is costing the state more money. It is creating them more work.
How's that?
Because if you think about it, if you have a bottle that is $10 and it moves 3 times, and you have a bottle that's $30 and it moves once, well, you got to stock 3 times the amount for that one bottle at $30 move.
But aren't they going to earn more profit on the bottle that was $10?
No, they're going to earn more profit on the bottle that's $30 because you're going to get more tax, you're going to get more revenue. So
yeah, because they're earning all their money on the tax.
Yeah,
not on a markup. They don't have a set markup.
Yeah, I mean, a perfect example. We had 30% more gross profit in sales. We were in 30% less stores, but yet we were generating that 30% higher in gross revenue. So that gross revenue was creating more tax money, more money for the DABC. And so that's what's really frustrating. So, and a good comparison is Total Wine. I mean, you go in there, you got to have your low end stuff. You got to have that bottle turn stuff. And that's really what's going to make a store, that you're selling what people want. But you really need that middle and that upper end tier product.
Yeah, so they're tracking it based on overall moving of inventory rather than overall profit margin.
Yeah, and so when you're moving that bottle 3 times, to just deliver that bottle a smaller amount, or you're using less space, you're using less resources, and you're collecting higher dollars. And that's, I don't know.
How do they justify it? It's been in place for 3 years now.
They justify it off of that bottle turns are the way to go.
Because Walmart does it, we got to do it
Yeah,
that way?
exactly. And the legislature approved it, and I don't know if the system was set up and it can't be changed. It looks like it's pretty one-sided that it has to be done that way. But the DABC's never. They just said this is the way the business is done. This is the way that we want it done, and this is how it's going to be done. And so, in theory, you're supposed to get more cells to be able to get into more locations. And we really haven't seen that either. I mean, our numbers are up 15, 20% at times, and you don't see stores grow. You just stay in the exact same amount. And so it is frustrating. It seems like the people that are on top, that are in, 50, 51 stores, they stay right there because their marketing dollars are a lot easier. If they spend marketing dollars, it doesn't matter what store somebody walks into, that marketing dollar paid off. Mm-hmm. If we spend that same amount of marketing dollars, we have a chance that they might walk into the Bountiful store. The Bountiful store doesn't have anything, and then they got to drive out to Salt Lake. And so that approach is really it's really hard for us distillers, but it's really hard for the distillers to get a product in the system at all. And that's where the real problem is you pay a fee and you get everything set up, and then there's really no plan to market. At that point, your plan to market is you may get a package agency at your location. And really, because there's one customer that you have, and that's the state of Utah. I mean, that's what it is being in a controlled state.
So you happen to be one of the early adopters, early distillery owners that came in the market. Is that the only reason why you're in all the stores, or you have a product that a lot of people want?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say both of those. I mean, I think we've made some pretty solid products, and we do some things a little bit different, and I think that we've earned everything that we've got. Yeah. But I mean, I look at a lot of these distillers, and it's like there's just no way that, that they, the state is putting them in, I think, 10 stores. Normally they'll take a product, but to move from 10 stores to get a general listing, in 6 months, they're saying they want to give people 18 months. But really, you can't build a brand in 18 months. I mean, to build a brand is 3, 4 or 5 years.
That's crazy.
And kind of a big part of that is if you look at the other controlled states, there are probably at least 10 states that very much support local. They have local programs. They say, okay, we're going to give you 6 products in 25 stores, but you got to sell $2,000 a month in this product or it will be discontinued. So they have programs set up that help the distillers kind of, can move up and get that brand built. And
where do you think the direction for the DABC is coming from? Do you think the church has a lot of influence over those laws coming down?
I do. I think that the church is, it's better that it doesn't come out that way. I think that it's probably directed a little bit better than it has been in the past. I'm not answering your question here, but I will say we have Tiffany, that is the director of the DABC, that has been amazing. Tiffany's made some big leaps and bounds there. This local has been a little bit tougher, I would definitely say. Mm-hmm. But the things that she's implemented and some changes she's made have been really impressed. I've been really impressed with. But I still think that the legislature is where a lot of the hang up is. And
they're just sort of anti-liquor.
Yeah.
They want to keep their fingers in it, even though they're not drinking, supposedly.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So they are basically trying to say, let's do what we can to kind of subdue the local distilleries and breweries so that they don't have too much of a slice of the economic pie.
Yeah. And that's sad because that economic pie it would just be that much better if it was.
Yeah, I mean, these are good jobs. That's what I don't get. It's like they're willing to work with their cronies to get Walmart a new fulfillment center or Amazon, and they do that all the time and give tax breaks. Those aren't good jobs.
Yeah.
Who wants to work at Walmart?
Yeah.
But like your guys working there, I can see they're all happy.
Yeah.
It's like they value the Walmart jobs over the local distillery jobs, and that's what gets me. That's why we started the Made in Utah Festival. It's like, let's build our local economy.
Yeah, I was looking yesterday, and data shows that local retailers return 52% of their revenue back into the local economy, where a chain store is going to put 14% back into the economy. And one of the coolest things ever happened to me. I was starting up, 9 years ago, and I went on KSL, the classifieds, and I started calling some farmers. I bought some corn. We were going to make the bourbon. And this farmer is like, what are you doing? You're going to make whiskey out of this? And they came up and they just said, man, like, we're getting close to shutting down our farm. We don't know how long we're going to be in business. Things just aren't good. And what's really cool is 2 years later, you see them pulling up in a brand new trailer. And next thing you know, you have Outlaw Distillery using them. And you got Dented Brick Distillery using them. And all these distilleries are starting to flock to these farmers and really kind of show them a new way of, hey, we'll take that from you. You don't need to sell for feed. We will definitely, purchase that. And to see that money directly going back into the economy and kind of generating those jobs and stuff
that's a real case scenario.
That is a real case scenario.
Like this farmer is now viable because of the liquor liquor you're producing using his grain.
Exactly. And this is kind of, the water's been really tough. And our farmer down in Delta said, hey, we might not have corn for the next couple of years, but please come back to us. You might have to go find somebody else. And but that's exactly, we are playing a big portion of helping people locally, and that's really important to me at Sugar House. Like, I really try, if we can get something local, we are all about that. Our boxes, our labels, obviously we don't have glass companies here in Utah, but it is
just
a big,
to talk about your products. This bourbon whiskey is amazing, and this had to sit in barrels for 5 years. Did you say?
So we age in different size barrels, but there's 5-year-old whiskey in there. We have some. We age in 15, 30-gallon size barrels, and 53s. Our full-size barrels are between 4 and 5 years.
When I saw you first start in this little tiny industrial space, you could just barely fit your still in.
Yeah.
It was like you and one other guy, and then I come in 5 years later, and you got the space next to it, and all these oak barrels, just like the whole place totally full of them, and that's just whiskey aging in there that you'll eventually be able to use and bottle.
Inventory's due tomorrow for the federal government, and we had 475 barrels today. So it is really cool, like, to start seeing. I remember 300 was our goal for so long, and it's tough because we start getting more barrels, and then you harvest them and empty them, put them into bottles, and at that point, your inventory goes down. So then when you start filling barrels back up, you're like, yes, I'm getting the numbers higher. But
how many times can you use an oak barrel?
We can use them once.
Oh, just once?
Yeah, by law, to make bourbon whiskey, to make rye whiskey, or to make malt whiskey, it has to be in a new American oak barrel. So we can repurpose. We're talking about it right now. We're using our rye whiskey in our canned cocktails, but we are talking about maybe putting it into a used barrel and saving some money. Coopers are becoming harder and harder to get barrels from, and what was $200 7 or 8 years ago, or $500 now, for a lot of the barrels and stuff like that. So costs are just like skyrocketing up, and so for something canned cocktail that we still need a decent quality. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't need to be out of a new barrel.
Yeah, I've been blown away by your canned cocktails. Like I've tried them all, and I'm not going to name names, but some of them just are not that good.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. But like this one, these have been consistently my favorite. Yeah. And it's because you're using really high quality liquor, aged whiskey.
Yeah. We're using our own product in
that's
so,
amazing.
Which is actually a good thing. A lot of distilleries source on the open market, and the open market is just closing up now because whiskey's in such a demand. And so you're just talking to distilleries lately, some people are like, oh, we're not able to source anymore. We just got shut off. And that was kind of the bet why I did Sugar House the way we did it, doing a grain to glass distillery, is because I wanted to build our foundation. I knew we were going to have some rough years in those first few years. We were selling young whiskey, and it was out of 15-gallon size barrels. But at the same time, I just did not want to go down that road of sourcing. I wanted to build a foundation of getting our mash bills, which is our recipe, figured out. This is what it is. Now let's get some age on it. And that's
the hard way for sure.
Yeah, that was definitely the hard way.
And you're one of the very few that have done that, right?
Yeah, we are.
Like High West, from day one, they were mixing different whiskeys, but it wasn't theirs until like 9-10 years into the company.
Yeah, I mean, not talking for out west. They source most of their product. They do distill, and they do have spirit, but yeah.
Yeah,
Who knows how
when you
much
take
really,
on whiskey? It's like a massive amount of work and investment.
Yeah, but there are people, Outlaw, Fully Grained Glass, New World up in Eden is doing everything from scratch. Not only, I mean, they're working a lot more with orchards and stuff like that, cherries, fruits, things like that. Jay at the Hive Winery is the same way. I mean, he uses a lot, and then Alan at Water Pocket, he does quite a bit too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, way cool. I want to tell everybody you got to try James's whiskey, bourbon, his vodka. Do you do gin as well?
We don't.
You don't do gin?
No.
Yeah, but everything I've had of yours is just top notch.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Our new still, we put a gin basket on it when I bought it, but we have. I don't think we're gonna do a gin. I think we got some other exciting things.
It's a lot of juniper berries in Utah, but
yeah, it doesn't distill through that nice. So it's kind of funky on that Utah juniper. So
yeah. Well, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, James.
Yeah, no,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you. Thanks for having me.